My in-laws planned a huge family vacation and uninvited me last minute, saying, "It's just for blood relatives, but you can watch the kids." So I turned off my phone and left town. When they came back furious, demanding, "Where are the kids?" I smirked and said, "With their blood relative, their dad." You didn't think I meant me. Have you ever experienced one of those moments where you can foresee the impending betrayal, yet you allow it to unfold, simply to gauge the depth of the wound? That was precisely my situation, seated at my in-laws' dinner table, feigning composure even as my entire being felt as though it had plummeted to the floor. For months, my husband's family had been orchestrating a grand getaway, a full week at a magnificent beach resort in Florida. It was one of those all-inclusive destinations, boasting multiple pools, lavish spas, exquisite restaurants, the whole package. My mother-in-law, Celia, had been speaking excitedly about it for weeks, extolling the resort's virtues, anticipating the children's enjoyment, and emphasizing how wonderful it would be for everyone to spend quality time together. And when I say everyone, I was under the impression it meant everyone, including me. I hadn't realized that last part yet. I had been fully involved in every conversation leading up to this point. They sought my input on flight arrangements, whether the children would require special flotation devices, and if we should rent a car upon arrival. I was certain I was going. Why wouldn't I be? I was part of this family, or so I thought. Apparently not. Because right in the middle of dinner, as casually as if she were commenting on the weather, my sister-in-law Anna simply delivered the news as though it were inconsequential. "Oh, by the way, Mom decided it's just going to be blood relatives. For the trip." I literally paused mid-bite, fork suspended halfway to my mouth, striving to confirm I had heard her correctly. I surveyed the table. My husband, Rick, avoided my gaze. His other sister, Beth, suddenly found her wine glass intensely fascinating. Even Celia, typically so talkative, was silent, merely observing me as if awaiting my reaction. I swallowed and carefully set my fork down. "I'm sorry, what?" Celia sighed, as if this ordeal were somehow difficult for her. "We just realized that it would be more of a family bonding experience if it was just, us." Us, as in them, as in not me. I felt my face flush. "So I'm not invited, even though I've been planning for this trip for months?" Celia offered me a fabricated look of sympathy that made me want to hurl my water glass across the room. "It's not that you're not invited, dear. It's just that we think this trip should be for the people who share the same bloodline. You understand, right?" I glanced at Rick, awaiting his intervention for him to say something, anything, to defend me. But he merely shifted uncomfortably in his seat and murmured, "It's only fair. It's a family trip." My stomach churned. "I am family," I stated, my voice low. Anna smirked. "Well, technically not by blood." It took every ounce of self-control not to launch myself across the table. But before I could even formulate a response, Celia clapped her hands together and smiled. "But don't worry, the kids can still come, and we were actually hoping you'd stay back and watch them while we're gone. It would be such a huge help." I actually let out a short, humorless laugh. "So, let me get this straight. You don't want me to come on this family trip because I'm not blood-related, but you still want me to watch my own kids while you all go off to have fun without me?" Celia nodded, completely oblivious to the absurdity of her request. "Exactly." I turned to Rick again, giving him one last opportunity to say something, to support me, to at least acknowledge that what they were asking was utterly preposterous. But all he did was shrug. "I didn't think you'd be this upset," he said. "It's not like they're doing it to be mean. It's just a family thing." Something inside me snapped. I sat through the remainder of dinner in silence, staring down at my plate, seething. They had no idea what was coming, because if they thought they could treat me like a free babysitter while they sipped cocktails on the beach, they had another thing coming. For the next 2 weeks, I played the role of the understanding, supportive wife. I smiled. I nodded along to their conversations. I even helped Celia select matching outfits for the grandchildren. I listened carefully as they finalized their flights, hotel bookings, and car rentals. I absorbed every single detail. And then, the night before they departed, as Celia was double-checking their packing lists, I casually dropped my own little bombshell. "Oh, By the way, I said, keeping my voice light, I won't be watching the kids after all. Silence. Celia blinked at me, clearly uncomprehending. I smiled. Yeah, I have plans. Her eyebrows knit together. What plans? Oh, just a little trip. Nothing big. Now Rick finally looked at me. A trip? Where? I shrugged. Doesn't matter. I just won't be here. And just like that, chaos erupted. Celia's face turned red. You can't just leave. We're flying out tomorrow morning. Anna practically spat out her wine. What about the kids? I tilted my head. What about them? Celia's voice went shrill. You can't expect us to just cancel the trip now. We've already paid for everything. Oh, wow, I said, as falsely sympathetic as I could manage. That really sucks. Sounds like you should have thought about that before uninviting me. Rick stood up, panic creeping into his voice. You're really going to do this just to prove a point? I picked up my glass, took a slow sip, and smirked. Yep. And then I left the room. I turned off my phone, I packed my bags, and the next morning I left town. A full week of bliss. I rented a cabin by a quiet little lake, surrounded by nature where nobody could reach me. I turned my phone off, poured myself a glass of wine, and watched the sunset over the water. By the time I turned my phone back on, I had dozens of voicemails, texts, and missed calls. Rick's messages started off furious. Where are you? Call me now! But quickly turned desperate because guess what? They had no one to watch the kids. Every single relative they called was busy. No one wanted to deal with it. They had no backup plan because they never thought they'd need one. When they finally got back, Rick stormed into the house, livid. His face was red, his hands clenched. Into fists. Where are the kids? He practically shouted. I leaned back on the couch, completely relaxed, and smirked. Rick was shaking with anger, his face red, veins bulging in his neck, his hands clenched at his sides like he was barely keeping himself from losing it completely. Where are the kids? He demanded, his voice tight. I didn't even flinch. I took my time setting my coffee cup down on the table, stretching out my legs like I hadn't just thrown his entire life into chaos. Then I looked up at him, my smirk widening just a little. Wouldn't you like to know? His nostrils flared. Stop playing games. Where are they? I leaned back into the couch, watching him. Why do you care now? You were fine with dumping them on me when it suited you. I swear to God, if you don't tell me right now what— Rick, what are you going to do? I interrupted, my voice cool. You've already made it clear I'm not really part of this family, right? So why would you expect me to take care of them while you and Mommy Dearest were sipping cocktails on the beach? Rick opened his mouth, then shut it, his hands gripping his hair like he was trying to keep himself from exploding. Then Celia stormed in, her heels clicking furiously against the hardwood floor. Her perfectly coiffed vacation hair was a frizzy mess, her tan looking patchy, her expensive blouse wrinkled. She was livid. You have some nerve, she hissed. Do you have any idea what you've done? Oh, I have a lot of ideas, actually, said, picking up my coffee again. Which one are we talking about? Celia's jaw tightened so hard I thought her teeth might crack. Where are the children? She demanded, voice shaking. I tilted my head and let out a mock, thoughtful hum. Oh, you mean your grandchildren? The ones you conveniently only claim when it benefits you? The ones you thought I'd just babysit for an entire week while you played happy family without me? Rick stepped forward, his voice low. I am this close to losing it. Just tell me where the kids are. I sighed and put my coffee cup down. Then, I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. Slowly, deliberately, I unlocked it, swiped to my messages, and held up a text thread for him to see. It was from my mother. Took the kids to Disney. They're having a blast. No worries. Enjoy your break. Rick's face drained of color. Celia actually staggered back like she'd been slapped. You gave them to her, Celia spat, looking horrified. Well, yeah, I said, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. You guys didn't want me on your trip, so I figured, why should my side of the family be excluded from seeing the kids? Rick looked like he was about to explode. You let your mother take them across the country without telling me? I raised an eyebrow. Oh, now you care about knowing the details of a trip in advance? Celia's face twisted in disgust. Your mother is completely irresponsible. I cut her off. Oh, you mean irresponsible like expecting someone to drop everything and babysit without asking them first? Or irresponsible like planning a huge vacation behind their back and only telling them at the last minute? Celia's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. Rick, however, wasn't giving up. He pointed a finger at me, his whole body shaking. You don't get to make these decisions without me. They're my kids, too. Oh, really? I shot back, standing up now, my voice sharp. Because last I checked, when your mother made her decision to exclude me from this trip, I didn't hear a damn word from you. Funny how it's only a problem when it affects you. His jaw clenched. That's different. Sure it is, I said, rolling my eyes. Now, if you're done yelling in my house, I'd like you both to leave. I just got back from a lovely, drama-free vacation, and I'd really like to keep that going. Celia's face went beet red. This is not over, she hissed. You have no idea what you've started. I just smiled sweetly. Oh, Celia, I think you have no idea what I've started. She let out an angry sound, grabbed Rick's arm, and yanked him toward the door. He hesitated for a second, just a second, before following her. The door slammed shut behind them. I let out a deep breath, my hands still clenched into fists. My whole body was buzzing with adrenaline, but underneath that, a deep, satisfying sense of victory. But I knew this wasn't over, not even close. I had humiliated them, and people like Celia, they don't take humiliation lightly. I had won the first battle, but the war, that was just getting started. I barely had a full hour of peace before my phone started buzzing again. This time it wasn't just Rick or Celia, it was everyone. Beth, Anna, even some extended family members I barely spoke to. The messages ranged from furious, "How could you do this to your own family?" to outright ridiculous. "You're being selfish and cruel. How could you let a stranger take the kids?" A stranger? I rolled my eyes. My mother wasn't a stranger. She was their grandmother, a grandmother they had conveniently ignored all these years because, according to Celia, my family just isn't the same kind of people. Translation: they weren't good enough. I didn't bother replying. Let them scream into the void. They wanted to treat me like some unpaid nanny. They could deal with the fallout. But then, an hour later, my phone buzzed with a different notification. A bank withdrawal alert from our joint account. I frowned, clicking on the message. My stomach twisted. $5,000 gone. I sat up, my heart pounding. I refreshed the screen. Another withdrawal. $3,000. What the hell? I muttered, my hands shaking as I called the bank. After being placed on hold for an eternity, I finally got through to a representative. Hi, I need to report unauthorized transactions on my joint account. The rep cut me off with a cheerful, "Oh, actually, your husband Richard came in earlier today and withdrew that amount in person." I swear. My vision blurred for a second. He what? Yes, he came in and made the withdrawals himself. Since he's a primary account holder, there was no restriction on the amount. I gritted my teeth. Did he say why he was withdrawing that much money? There was a short pause. Then, yes, actually, he mentioned it was for an unexpected family emergency. I almost laughed. Of course he did. I hung up without another word, my fingers gripping the phone so tightly my knuckles turned white. Rick had taken our money to fix his family's mess. I sat there for a moment, my hands shaking with rage. Then slowly, I took a deep breath. Fine. If he wanted to play dirty, I could play filthy. I pulled up my texts and typed out a message to my mother. Hey, Mom, quick question. How would you like an extended stay in Disney on me? Her response came almost immediately. Oh, honey, I couldn't possibly accept that. Mom, please, it would mean everything to me. Just take the kids somewhere amazing for another week. Make sure they're too busy having fun to think about coming home. A pause, then, if you're sure, okay, but only because I love you and because I know Celia will hate it. Face blowing a kiss emoji. I grinned. Then, without hesitation, I opened another app. Our joint bank account might have been drained, But there was one thing Rick had forgotten. My personal account, the one he wasn't on. I transferred $10,000 into my mother's account. Then I sent her another text. Go wild, Mom. Oh, I intend to. I leaned back, my heart finally slowing. If Rick wanted to throw money at fixing his mother's tantrum, fine. I would throw more to make sure it didn't work. I didn't hear from him until late that night, when he finally called. His voice was tight. Where are the kids? I pretended to think. Last I checked, riding Space Mountain. A sharp inhale. What? Oh, and I think tomorrow they have lunch with actual Disney princesses. Crazy, right? You extended the trip? I smirked. Well, yeah. You seemed so desperate to throw money at a family emergency. I figured I'd help our family too. His voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. This is not funny. Oh, I'm not laughing, I said sweetly. But I bet my mom is. Front row seats to the Lion King show tomorrow? Fifth row, actually, but still pretty good. Rick was seething. You think you can just keep them away from me? I tilted my head. Oh, now you want them? Funny, because last I checked you were perfectly happy leaving them behind with me while you took off on your little bloodline-only vacation. It wasn't like that, he hissed. I let out a fake gasp. Oh no, of course not. You were totally planning to be a father when you got back, right? Just after a week of margaritas and family bonding? A long silence. Then quietly, my mom is threatening legal action. I actually laughed. Oh, you mean Celia? The woman who actively encouraged you to exclude me from your family trip? The woman who treated me like some unpaid nanny? The same woman who is now realizing I don't need her. Permission to take my own kids on a trip? Yeah. Tell her to go ahead. I dare her. Rick let out a shaky breath. You're really willing to start a war over this? I smiled to myself. Rick, I said, my voice deadly calm. This isn't starting a war. This is me finishing it. There was silence on the other end of the phone. Rick was breathing heavily, probably trying to figure out his next move. I wasn't worried. I had all the power now. Rick, I said, my voice sharp. You stole from me. You let your family humiliate me. You left me behind like I was nothing. And now? Now you want to act like the victim? His voice came out in a growl. You're blowing this way out of proportion. I laughed, a cold, bitter sound. Oh, so now it's too much? Funny, because when I was the one being left behind, that was just family tradition, right? What was it you said? It's only fair? I'm done. I cut him off. I mean it, Rick. Done. I hung up before he could respond, but I wasn't finished. First, I called the bank. I told them Rick had drained our account without my consent. They couldn't reverse the withdrawals since it was a joint account, but they could remove him from it, which I did immediately. Then I logged into all our financial accounts, utilities, car insurance, everything that had both our names on it. I changed the passwords, froze the credit cards that were in my name. Rick had taken our money to fix his family's problems. Fine. Now he didn't have access to a single dollar I earned. While I was at it, I went ahead and made another move. I called a lawyer. The next morning, I went to the bank in person. With the help of my lawyer, I opened a new account in just my name and transferred every remaining penny that legally belonged to me. Then I moved out. I packed up my things, took important documents, and left behind only the essentials. I wasn't about to wait for Rick and his toxic family to try and manipulate me into staying. I went straight to my mom's house. The kids were thrilled to see me. They had no idea about the mess happening behind the scenes. And that's how I wanted it. For the next few days, I ignored every call from Rick, Celia, and the rest of his family. Let them panic. Then, a week later, divorce papers were delivered to Rick's office. The second he got them, my phone exploded with calls. I finally answered, just for the fun of it. Rick's voice was full of rage. You're divorcing me? Yes. Over a vacation? I sighed. This was never about the vacation, Rick. It was about respect, and you made it very clear that I have none in your family. He was silent for a second, then scoffed. You're being dramatic. No, I'm done being treated like an outsider in my own marriage. You won't win, he said, his voice sharp. You can't just take the kids and leave. I smiled. Actually, I can. Because you left them with me. You didn't fight for custody. You didn't even fight for visitation. The courts are going to take one look at how little effort you put into being a father and hand me full custody without a second thought. Rick started to say something, but I cut him off. Oh, and by the way, since you emptied our account, my lawyer's going after half of what's left of your savings. His sharp inhale told me everything I needed to know. And because you stole marital funds, that's legally financial abuse, meaning the judge is probably going to award me extra in the settlement. Now he was panicking. Wait. Goodbye, Rick. I hung up. The divorce was nasty. Rick tried everything to get back at me. Claimed I kidnapped the kids, tried to paint me as a villain, even begged the judge to let him keep the house. Guess what? He lost. The judge saw through his lies. I got full custody of the kids, the house, and a hefty settlement. Rick, he was left with nothing but his toxic family and his own bad decisions. As for Celia, she tried to start drama, but she quickly realized she had no power over me anymore. She lost access to the kids because, as I reminded her in court, she never really wanted to be their grandmother when it didn't benefit her. And Anna, Beth, the rest of them, they never reached out again. Fine by me. The kids and I moved on. I rebuilt my life without Rick's family dragging me down. I found peace. I found happiness. And I found something I hadn't felt in years. Freedom. And the best part? A year later, I took the kids on a real vacation.